My name is Kylie Park and I have white privilege. Now, that's a pretty bold statement, so let me clarify. I'm choosing to talk about this because this is how I want to use my own privilege, by bringing awareness to a topic that many are in denial of while it continues to damage other people. But firstly, you have to understand what is privilege. By definition, it means someone who has an unearned access to social power based on a membership in a dominant social group, meaning someone has advantages that they did not earn themselves. Well, there's many forms of privilege, like being born into a very wealthy family, or in this case, white privilege. Now, before I go into more depth about what white privilege is, let me tell you what it is not. Because unlike the common misconception, white privilege is not reverse racism, because that assumes that racism occurs on a so-called level playing field. White privilege is not class privilege. You can be white, live in poverty, or be homeless. Having white privilege does not mean that you have no problems and live an easy life, and nor does it translate directly to you are racist. No one's life is perfect. Everyone is struggling somewhere, but if these problems don't stem from the bias of your skin color, you have white privilege. Now, white privilege is an unspoken benefit that people with light skin get to take advantage of because of our country's racial history. These inherent advantages are possessed by white people on the basis of their race in a society characterized by racial inequality and injustice. These concepts are hard to explain, and to make it make more sense, the best way I saw this privilege described was by Peggy McIntosh. She's a feminist, anti-racism activist, scholar, speaker, and senior research scientist at the Wellesley Centers for Women, and author of the book White Privilege. She describes white privilege as an invisible package of unearned assets, meaning inside the invisible bag that every white person carries are cheat codes and tools to help them fare better in life. Now, obviously, every white person is not carrying around a bag of knickknacks, but these invisible provisions come free with white skin. Now, I've been talking a lot about invisible assets, but where do you actually see white privilege? I promise it is a lot more common than you probably think. So I've gathered some examples from Peggy's book and also from a speech presented at Duke College by activism speaker and author Tim Wise. I chose these instances purposefully because I think they are simple and you will easily be able to relate to them. So, as a white person, we are privileged because assumptions and opinions about us are not based on the color of our skin. We are privileged because we are less likely to have been called racial slurs. We are privileged in that we do not have to fear for our lives when we interact with the police. We are privileged in that we are less likely to become the victim of racially motivated abuse. We are privileged because we can choose blemish colors, makeup, or bandages in our flesh color that will easily match our skin color. We are privileged because we do not need protests in order to demand equal rights or call out the suffering of our race. When I am told about our national heritage or about civilization, I am shown that people of my color made it what it is. I can easily buy posters, picture books, dolls, toys, and magazines featuring people of my race. I can go shopping alone, pretty well assured that I won't be followed or harassed. I'm privileged because I can turn on the television or open the front page of the paper and see people of my race widely represented. I could go on and on. Now, these are examples of the privileges that white people tend to overlook. So where exactly do we see white privilege impacting people in a negative way? It becomes unfortunate when privilege starts to affect the quality of life for others, and when white skin is favored by society, a massive part of our world's population is now oppressed. I've gathered more information on how white privilege directly affects people's quality of life. All of these statistics are from a 2019 article that continues to stay up to date and was written by the Human Rights Commission. Unemployment rates were higher for minorities at 12.9% compared to 6.3% for white people. Black workers with degrees earn 23.1% less on average than their white workers, and black people who leave high school with A grades typically get paid 14.3% less than their white peers. Black and mixed Caribbean children have rates of permanent expulsion from school that is over 3 times that of the entire student population. Prosecution and sentencing for black people were 3 times higher than that for white people, sitting at 18 per thousand population compared with 6 per thousand population for white people. In healthcare and hospitals, black African women have a mortality rate 4 times higher than white women combined. I understand the argument that people should be blind to races. I do think it is very valid. All lives matter sounds good on paper, I suppose. And yes, people should be treated equal and seen equal in the eyes of everyone, regardless of race or skin color, because people are part of the human race, and yeah, we all matter. However, these ideals cannot exist in today's society. It is very clear that skin color has a huge impact on your life and your privileges. It is clear that we are not created equal or treated equally. There should not be bias based on skin color, but there is, and until we stop ignoring it, there always will be. It is not the jobs of those who are disadvantaged by white privilege to calmly educate white people about it. The simplest way to start becoming more aware of your privilege is to check yourself. To redesign social systems, we need first to acknowledge their colossal, unseen dimensions. The silences and denials surrounding privilege are the reason that it still exists. So question whether you choose to use your unearned advantages to weaken the systems of advantage, and whether you will use any of your arbitrary power to try to reconstruct the oppressive system on a broader base. I find it very unfortunate that we are still fighting this battle for racial equality and having to struggle with racist ideals from decades ago, built upon a systematic racist life. These topics make my blood boil, and speaking about an advantage that I have and that I obtain that has oppressed my loved ones, my friends, and people that I care about, it was my goal to open your mind to understand the complexity of privilege and how important it is to start making changes so we can all live comfortably. I hope that every white person here right now will walk away with the understanding that you have privilege. Please use your privilege to help fight people, to help racial inequality, and to stand up for people who have been treated unjustly, because you have the ability to bring more attention to this topic, and you have the ability to make a change.